The aviation in the Caribbean, it's an important subject. It's a troubling subject. Continues to be a problem that we face traveling across the region from an inter-Caribbean perspective. And we feel that if we are not able to solve for that problem, it holds us back in terms of growing tourism from a regional perspective, but more importantly, growing tourism from what we call multi-destination tourism, which is tourists coming from outside the region wanting to explore and experience more aspects of the Caribbean, more places in the Caribbean, unable to do so successfully because they just physically can't move from one island to the next without having to go outside the Caribbean to come back into the Caribbean, which is quite a problem. So we're still trying to solve for it. There are some pieces of the puzzle that are beginning to form themselves. I think we have to know as a region, especially at the policymaker level, which is at the ministerial and government level, that there's more focus paid and given to bringing into being some of the policies and frameworks that are already in place, but really just needs more thought and more collaboration between private and public, but also more understanding of the businesses around aviation, which includes the airports, civil aviation professionals, etc., etc. But I think we have the pieces in the region. As a region, we just need to figure out how we bring all of them together to make them work to the betterment of travel across the region.
And obviously this has been a conversation you and I, and obviously the region's been wrestling with for some time. Certainly does feel like to me, as you say, that the pieces are starting to be defined and also starting to kind of come together. How are you feeling about sort of the progression that you're making?
It's slow, to use a word. I do believe that more and more countries around the region are beginning to aspire to the ambition to want it to happen. Without that ambition, we're not going anywhere very fast. It has taken us a long time to get to this place. And it will continue to be a long time if we don't recognize the importance, of what aviation means to the region. It means economic growth for all of our countries, but more importantly, countries that don't have a national airline. It means the ability to move people. It means the ability to connect places, connect experiences. And I think also, more importantly, it means the ability to move cargo across our borders and share in the export space between our islands and between our countries. Those are huge economic reasons to make this happen. One of the bold steps that the governments of the region have already taken is to sign off on the multilateral air service agreement, which is the MASA, and allowing within the MASA seventh freedom for countries that are signed on to it. What seventh freedom simply means is that any airline can fly from any country as long as they have permit to do so from that country, or can land in any country as long as they have permit from that country, who is part of the MASA and part of the seventh freedom, to land, do business, park planes, leave planes, house planes, basically transact inter-regional connectivity and create networks of connectivity within the region, within those countries that are on the MASA, and there's 13 countries that have signed on to it. So that's a huge framework to start from, because that gives you policy base. But within the MASA, it also allows the cooperation and collaboration on things like airport facilitation, immigration and customs facilitation. In 2006, when the World Cup was in the region, the Cricket World Cup, governments agreed for there to be 1 point of security control. So if you enter the Caribbean in Jamaica and you end up in St. Lucia for another match, you don't have to clear immigration and customs all over again. It was temporary, so it went away after the World Cup. Something like that should be permanent. There's no reason to hassle travelers across the region over and over and over and over. Today, it is significantly difficult. I know friends and colleagues that are here at SOTIC, it will take them 2 days to get home from Turks and Caicos. Some of them going to Barbados, which is across the way, or going to Antigua. They'll have to go to Miami overnight and then fly home the next day. Yeah. It's crazy. There's no reason why we shouldn't have a more simplistic networking of travel across the region. What makes it also possible is the fact that you have presently, if you take into consideration the Spanish, French, Dutch, Caribbean, there's more than 10 airlines that are flying and domiciled in these regions across the Caribbean. But there's no interconnectivity between them, and there's no interconnectivity across islands. Imagine if we were able to find a solution, public-private, that allows those airlines and the investors in those airlines to see an opportunity where they could interconnect with each other, to move passengers from Guadeloupe to Jamaica, or from Curacao to Antigua, or from from Trinidad to Dominica. And to continue to seamlessly, continually connect these islands between points and between places. But there has to be a commitment, on the private sector side, which is on the airline side. There's has to be even a greater commitment on the governments of the Caribbean to create a seamless framework opportunity for those airlines to see the opportunity. And then there has to be an understanding, and Minister Fernandez made a point on the panel very well, that the price of travel across the region, if the airlines are going to make a go of it, then price is an issue. You can't continue to price the region the same way you price international flights. To move from Antigua to Barbados is more, it costs more than to fly from Antigua to New York. So there has to be some amount of balancing and leveraging of how do I move more people and more products, cargo, across the region, and leverage that price-wise to drive even more traffic across the region. And I think if we come to that understanding very quickly, I think we'll find out that there's a greater opportunity for us to make this happen now. And as I asked the panel earlier, if you had a clean slate of paper, what would be your 4 pillars that you would use? And I think if we take that approach in every region and ask that question, let's forget the past. Well, not forget it, understand, learn from it. But we're in a moment in time. Let's all take a clean sheet of paper. What would you want to make this work? And let's go sit down and figure out strategically, how do we make those 4 or 5 pillars cornerstones of success 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now? Because believe me, we could do so much more for our region economically if we were able to fix this problem of aviation.
I was going to ask you about kind of just quantifying the impact of this, because you talk about price, but really it's about value, right? Yeah. Ultimately, that's what. And just even when you were talking about cargo, you look at it even from a sustainability perspective, and reducing kind of food and energy, you name it, right? It crosses everything. So that impact is huge. It's huge.
It's massive. I mean, there's so many parts of this region that produces so many natural resources out of the ground. In Guyana, you have rice. You have gold. In Grenada, you have spices. In Jamaica, you have sugarcane. You have winter vegetables, coffee. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on.
Salt and Turks.
Exactly, right? Salt and Turks. Think of what it would mean to be able to do business country to country.
Absolutely.
If you could move products and services much faster. Yeah. And take the hassle out of doing business with each other. That way, as they say, rising tide, rise all boats. Yep. And I think if we take that on as the mantra, to say collectively, if we do this together, everybody rises, everybody benefits, every country benefits, the people of the Caribbean benefit. Then we start from the premise of making it work for everybody. And if we do that, then you take the selfishness out of it, you take the other stuff out of it, and just focus on what makes it work for every Caribbean national, then we have a winning product.
You don't have a crystal ball, clearly, but putting you on the spot here, you mentioned 5, 10, 20 years just now. Give me a sense of, if you had a dream scenario, a vision, like what does this look like in 5 years? Where are we?
If we're serious, I think we could absolutely have a functioning interconnectivity across the region in 5 years, because the airlines already exist. It's not like you're going to have to find new investors and stuff. Yes, they may have to invest more, they have to buy more planes, maybe re-gauge their fleet and all those kinds of things. But those things are doable if you A, have the ambition to do it, B, you have the opportunity to make money as a businessman, and C, you have the policy framework from government to facilitate you being successful. If you have those three things, it's doable. And I think the last thing that you really need is the ambition to make it happen. If you have those four things now, hey, it can be done in 5 years. In 5 years, if you ask me the question, if we have those four things in place, we could have a really seamless, functionable air connectivity service in the Caribbean, in a way that not just serve tourism, but serve the people of the Caribbean more importantly.
Donovan, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.